after leaving the interflow, we are now going to something new, which is called the intraflow network coding. So there are some advantages and disadvantages in the interflow. One of the biggest disadvantages is also the need to look into the traffic flow. For Alice and Bob, if you don't send packets at the same time to the relay, there's nothing to code, right? So we had to deal with the traffic characteristics, and this is all not necessary if we go to the intraflow. Intraflow means I'm coding over the packets of my own stream. Okay? You will see the difference very soon. And on top of that, we will talk about not only linear network coding, we will talk about random linear network coding and a little bit of coding history there. In the 90s, we had the block codes. So if you look at the evolution of coding, we started with the block codes, then we had convolutional codes, then in the 1990s, we had modern codes like the LDPC code, right, turbo codes, and later, end of the 90s, we had rateless codes, Raptor codes, fountain codes, whatever you can think of. And what we are talking now is something about random linear network codes or network codes that came beginning of 2000, and then later we had also the random linear network codes. Here you see the spawn of some of our startups like Codon, Steinwurf, also Chocolate Cloud. They came all later, so startups of our students that looked into the coding of the new network codes and thought about what can we do with this new type of codes. We have also to talk about these codes to understand where the difference is. I hope that you know a little bit of Reed-Solomon codes, block codes, that you have heard about this. Otherwise, just raise your arm and I will explain you that. So let's look into the coding motivation, coding in general, right? So normally if you have a traditional approach of data is broken into 5 different pieces, for example. You can take the 5 different pieces and do whatever you want. You can store them at different places on the cloud. You can send them over different passes. And as long as you get these 5 pieces together, you just glue them together and say, here's the data intact as it was. But it's not enough to get 5 pieces, because if you don't get the right pieces, like in this case you get 2 of the green, this does not fit anymore, right? This is something very bad. We call it the duplication. And you all know the problem of duplication. If you collect different pieces, like for example Pokemon cards or football cards, then you are aware of something called the coupon collector problem. This means if you have an album with 125 places, the question is how many times should I buy randomly tickets to fill up my album? And you will see it's over 650 that you have to buy. Normally you only have 125 places, so you could even deal with sharing. So trying to find out somebody who needs this and I need another one to sharing. That's the nice thing about Pokemon card, right? But in the coupon collector problem, it tells you about duplicates are not nice, right? And we always come back to that. So if you think about your Panini album or Pokemon cards, when you make a collection, in the beginning it's very easy to collect in something in, but towards the end, you only get duplicates and duplicates and duplicates. So what we do to avoid duplicates in coding is we are putting things together. So the same mixing that you had today, like we have a blue and an orange one. So what we do is we're mixing them together and we get a new color out of it. Now, as all the color combination would be some brownish stuff, we just say, okay, here's the packet and it's a combination of two packets. This is just a symbol for you, right? You can take any combinations and make different colors. Whether this is this form or this form, it doesn't matter. It's just 2 colors, right? But you're not limited to 2 colors. You can even get more combinations out of it, right? So when you have then different combinations, right, with 2, even here 5 different colors, when you get 6 of these combined packets, you will be able to say, okay, I can reconstruct this packet if I want, right? Even if I have only 5, I can reconstruct that. The problem is if I get only 4, I don't get it out of it. This is the same as in a linear equation system. If you have 5 equations and 5 unknowns, you can solve it, maybe. There are some dependencies. But if you have 4, for sure you cannot do that, right? So if you have this 5, you can even regenerate all of the 5 packets in this case. The question is, would will any 5 combinations up here be a successful decoding down here? Not necessarily, right? Because there are some combinations, I hope that I find them. If I take this one, this one, this one, and this one, there's no blue in it, right? So we forgot to mix in the blue packets. So this mixing is now important. The more we mix it, the better it is, right? This will be something you will see later. Now, when you have this kind of coded packets, you can do a lot of good things with it. I said you can already you use multipass, transmitting packets over different links, or you can store them in different clouds. As long as you get them back together, you can decode. That is the whole game, right? There's something else. We already said if you don't have enough, you cannot decode, and this is bad. But it's also an additional security measure. So if you send some packets over this link and 4 packets over this link, when you have one attacker only on one of the links, he cannot see what you have sent. He cannot reveal the secret. The same for distributed cloud. If you have distributed information in one cloud, not enough to decode here and not enough here, there is an inherent security in that. Now, what we can do is, once we have coded packets together, we can do something new. And this is what a network code can do. You will see this later. This can do a recoding. So some packets that have been already coded together, to bring them into a new form of coding. So the old codes that we know, that would need a lot of the information, decode all the additional packets, and then make a new packet. Here we can create a lot of enough packets and say, okay, even though we have this, we can create this. Even if we would not have the blue one here, we can create these two into a new coded packet with then 3 colors. So a normal code, we only say encoder, decoder. You will learn about a recoder, okay? All these comic stripes that you see here, later you will see with a lot of more formulas, and I think it's easier to understand it more in this comic stripe. I give you some explanation why the recoding is interesting. So imagine you have the original packets and you code them here. This is the coding as any coding would work. It's not necessarily in network coding. It could be any code where you say, okay, here are some combinations. And with that, I can create these combinations. And later I can say, okay, they are linked to the original packets. But then I can say, okay, these packets can be coded together in something new. So 2 colors here, 2 colors here. Even though orange is on both sides, you have 3 colors down here. And then you can make more colors down the way. You can even combine them. If I take an original packet here or go directly here, I can code them later. So just to say, this kind of recoding is now not necessarily that we see all the packets. We can have some domains where we code packets together until we create one big packet where here are more combinations in there. So this packet does not have all the combination, all the information. It's just one representation of the 5 over there, right? Once you have 5 of these packets, you can decode memory. You can, as I see here, have different ways of coding this together, no problem. Why does recoding really matter? So imagine that you have now these coded packets in the beginning, and we are just saying we have a very simple game. If 2 incomings, you have to select this packet or this packet, okay? So in this case, this or this, we selected this, okay? This or this, we selected this, so this is already out, right? Here, this one has one, this has one, this has one, this has one, this has one. Now here you see this one has one over here, and if you look down here, you have 5 packets, and you see all the colors in there, so you can decode, right? So success, good. But you were lucky, because it could be also have gone like this, right? That you have these 2 packets, and it's 3 times this linear combinations. It's a linear combination, but it's 3 times the same, so it's nothing else than a duplicate. So here you have a failure. Just by choosing, it's not good enough, right? So then you can say, okay, we did not code enough in the beginning. Let's code a lot of here in the beginning. All packets in different forms here, right? It's not always the same, there are different combinations. But if you look down here, I think this packet, this and this is still the same. It's the same pattern. So it was not the initial coding. What was missing is, so here the duplicates, very good. The recoding. This means here we have packets, we code something new together, so the color will change over the time. So for example here, there was green, and we coded the green out. Right? Why we did this? Not on purpose, you will see later. But in the beginning, in the end, you will see that seems more or less the same, but it's not the same. You see here something different. So there are 5 different combinations, and this is a success. So on the way, always recoding something that is nice. And I show you something now. We call it the melting ice cube, and you will learn about them once we are going towards storage. But it shows you the impact of a no coding over a Reed-Solomon, so from the 50s, sorry, and a network code. What is the difference? And as you have not a good understanding and the comic stripes are not good enough, you will see now, we call it the melting ice cube. The ice cube, when it is melting and there's no ice cube anymore, is a bad sign, right? And this is what you will see here. This is an uncoded system. I have to start this, sorry. So here you see it says some round. After some time, whatever it is, right, you will see that the ice cube is melting dramatically and collapse. Because what it is losing is the integrity of the code. We are mixing what you have seen before with where we have some recoders and whatever. They don't have recoding, right? If you have initial coding, you see something like this. So it will also collapse, not as fast as before, but you have just to wait a long time after it's collapsing, right? And the code, without telling you why the magic happens, you can see now, here's 400 or whatever, 700, then it's that. Here you can wait forever. The integrity of the ice cube will stay after a short melting time from the sides. And there's a theoretical curve that we know that this will stay intact. Whether this, what the y and x means at the moment, I just want to give you a feeling that whatever we had before will degenerate, while that what is new will be stable. And we need that one, this feature.